12 new cases today in Victoria, 18 in total, 75 exposure sites and 6,500 people tonight in isolation. Sadly, I guess it was inevitable that Daniel Andrews would pull the trigger and send the state into its 5th lockdown at midnight tonight. When your only response to COVID is to lock down and you get COVID cases, a lockdown inevitably must follow, as sure as night follows day. But let's consider what this lockdown means. Sure, lockdown long enough and hard enough, you'll end up with no COVID cases. But you also get jobs lost and businesses closed and lives blighted. Kids don't go to school. You get those increases in suicide attempts with young people that Kids Helpline reported just a few days ago. Families don't get to farewell properly the people they love, and plans aren't made for weddings or other celebrations because they'd be upended at any minute. Eventually, yes, we end up with no COVID, but at what cost? What cost? Last year, I very, very reluctantly supported Victoria's big lockdown because when they had cases up around 700 a day, government failures meant that COVID was out of control. I understood back then that out of control COVID meant hundreds of deaths. We had no vaccines, remember. We ended up with 800 deaths in Victoria, as we only know too well. And while 18 cases should not be beyond the state's capacity to trace, it's hard to have any confidence at all in Victoria's systems. This is a state that couldn't run hotel quarantine. It couldn't get efficient testing regimes up and running. It couldn't get test results to people in under 24 hours. It couldn't even organise an online vaccination booking system, despite spending $6 million and waiting 6 months to try and set it up. When the so-called COVID commander, Jeroen Weimar, who couldn't run trains in the UK, couldn't run trains here in Australia, now he's running our lives, when he announced this morning on tracing, quote, "We've moved as quickly as we've ever moved," he said, "and as quickly as I've seen in any contact tracing operation, certainly in this hemisphere." You just knew, didn't you? We were sunk. At midnight tonight, businesses must again close their doors. Schools disrupted again. Life thrown into chaos again. We've got to get out of this stop-start lives. We've got to get out of it quickly and as humanly as possible. And the only way out is for everyone to get vaccinated as quick as they can until a large majority of Australians get vaccinated with a heavy heart and for an abundance of caution and because we've got no choice, all the usual histrionics we saw from Daniel Andrews just a moment ago. There will be repeated lockdowns. The states will order them and the Commonwealth will pay for them. Vaccine is now literally a lifesaver, not because it'll just protect us from the disease, it protects us from COVID, sure. But it's the only thing that will save us from these lockdowns that are sapping the life from this state and this country. Vaccination is what turns COVID from a serious illness with a case hospitalisation rate of 10% and a case fatality rate approaching around 1% into something like the standard flu with a hospitalisation rate of less than 1% and a death rate under 0.1%. This is why speeding up the vaccine rollout has got to be number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 job for the federal government. Why aren't all 4,000 pharmacies across this country rolling out COVID jabs like they roll out the flu jabs? Why aren't the main vaccination centres open 24/7? I mean, we could have supermarkets open 24/7. Why not vaccination centres? And why isn't more being done to reassure people about the AstraZeneca jab if they're prepared to have it? And if they're not, make Pfizer available for everyone. Too scared off about the previous mixed messaging. Give vaccine choice. Fix this and fast. The Prime Minister told us last year that 2020 would be the worst year of our lives due to COVID. So far, this year looks like being just as bad due to COVID policy. And a final word to the Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews. Here in the media, we all knew last night that lockdown in Victoria was on the cards. I said as much here on my show, and over the past 24 hours, I kept hearing reports that your officials had told the big shopping centre owners and the AFL to prepare for a lockdown. And I believe it Because someone must have told the AFL there's a whole lot of players managed to get on flights, pack a bag, get out of the state today. Now, if you knew yesterday, Daniel Andrews, this lockdown would happen, if that was a decision you had made, it should have been announced to every Victorian. It should have been announced to everyone before you rang the AFL and all your mates. Because tonight, I feel for all the ordinary residents of this state trying to work out how they manage their business, cancel orders, pay their staff, reschedule funerals, visit dying relatives, deal with the kids who are going into trauma about this happening yet again. They mightn't be powerful like your mates in the construction unions or your buddies at the AFL. Watch out, Premier. These ordinary Victorians vote.